Buckle up, everybody, because we are going deep today.
Deep. I like it.
We're diving into some seriously fascinating stories that I think are going to make you really think. We've got political intrigue.
Okay.
We've got the FBI.
Right.
And then just for kicks, we're going to step into the boxing ring.
Fun. Interesting mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how all of our sources today kind of touch on this idea of spectacle.
Okay.
You know, like
Yeah.
how things appear versus like what's really going on beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Kind of a theme.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump right in
Let's do it.
with this headline that really caught my eye.
Okay.
Trump's Proud Boys Night Out. I'm sure most people listening know about the Proud Boys, but just in case,
Yeah.
can you give us a quick rundown?
Sure. So the Proud Boys are a group that's been labeled as far-right and extremist.
Right.
And they're known for some pretty troubling ideologies and a history of violence, particularly against people who hold left-leaning views.
It's pretty shocking to see that headline, then connecting them with a former president.
Yeah.
It definitely raises some questions.
Yeah, for sure.
But the source doesn't really give us much to go on,
Right.
beyond the headline itself.
Yeah, we don't know what this night out was, know.
Right.
Who else was there?
Exactly.
Or even if it was a formally organized event at all,
Yeah.
it's really just a headline, which in a way makes it even more intriguing,
Right.
Like, what is this?
It makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what was the intention
Yeah.
of putting that out there?
Right, like what message are they trying to send? Or even if it wasn't intentional, like what message is being received by people who see this headline?
Exactly.
Like how is this perceived by people who support this group and people who are critical of them?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think regardless of intention, we have to consider the impact of an association like this,
Yeah.
even if it's just a headline.
Yeah. Does it lend legitimacy to a group with extremist views? Does it normalize their presence in mainstream politics?
Yeah.
These are the questions that this raises for me.
Absolutely.
That we should be asking ourselves.
It really does make you think.
For sure.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit to a headline that might seem less flashy at first glance,
Okay.
but could be even more impactful.
Right.
No FBI checks for his cabinet.
Interesting.
This is about Trump's cabinet appointments and the apparent lack of standard vetting procedures. Can you walk us through what normally happens, for those of us who aren't political insiders,
Sure.
when someone's being considered for like a high-level government position like that?
So normally there's a very thorough process,
Okay.
and the FBI actually plays a key role
Okay.
in this process. So they conduct in-depth background checks on these potential appointees, and they're looking for any issues that could
Yeah.
pose a risk to national security or even create conflicts of interest. Okay.
So they're looking at things like criminal history, financial irregularities, questionable ties to foreign entities. It's all very carefully scrutinized in a normal situation.
So to think that wasn't done
Yeah.
for Trump's cabinet, that's a pretty big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, what kind of risks does that expose us to?
Well, I mean, when you don't do these checks,
Yeah.
you're essentially removing a crucial layer of protection.
Right.
And you could potentially end up with people in these really powerful positions
Yep.
who have hidden agendas, vulnerabilities that could be exploited,
Right.
or even, allegiances to foreign governments.
Yeah, and this was during a really tense time,
Exactly.
surrounding the election.
Yeah, there were already so many concerns about foreign interference.
Exactly.
And then to not do these checks is just,
Yeah.
it's very concerning.
It's wild looking back and thinking about some
Yeah.
of those cabinet appointments
Yeah.
and how controversial they were. For sure.
And then to think that they didn't go through these checks.
Right. It really highlights the importance of these checks and balances and raises questions about transparency and accountability at the highest levels of government.
Totally. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move away from politics for a minute
Sure.
and step into the boxing ring.
All right.
So we've got this headline about Mike Tyson
Oh, yeah.
facing off against Jake Paul. And the source calls it a depressing fight.
Interesting.
What was your initial reaction when you saw this matchup?
Honestly, my first thought was, how did we get here?
Right.
You have Mike Tyson, a legend,
Yeah.
but obviously way past his prime.
Of course.
And then you have Jake Paul, who's built a career on social media.
Right.
And is really new to the boxing world.
Yeah, it seems like another one of these celebrity boxing matches.
Totally.
But what I find so interesting is what this specific matchup says about our culture.
Yeah, I think you're right. It makes you think about how obsessed we are with spectacle.
Yeah.
And this desire for entertainment, even if it compromises the integrity of a sport.
But like, are we okay with exploiting these athletes?
Right, especially athletes who are past their prime and might be drawn back in for a big payday.
It makes me wonder, where is the line?
Yeah.
Is this harmless entertainment, or are we crossing an ethical line?
Right. Are we celebrating athletic achievement, or are we just consuming something that's designed to shock and entertain?
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Political intrigue, potential oversights in government, and even the ethics of entertainment.
Yeah, and what ties it all together is this theme of appearances versus reality. How do we figure out what's genuine and what's fabricated?
That's such a good point.
Whether it's in politics, sports, or even in our own lives.
So here's a question for everyone listening to think about.
Okay.
In this age of, curated images and carefully constructed narratives,
right,
how do we become more discerning consumers of information?
That's a great question.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.